At Vanguard, we know that this is more than just a retirement plan. This is your cappuccino date in Italy, the beach house with the matching bicycles. It's your rental car down memory lane, and weekends reuniting with friends from over the years. This is the future you imagined, and we're here to help you build it. Because at Vanguard, you're more than just an investor. You're an owner. Discover the value of ownership at Vanguard.com. Fund shareholders own the funds that own Vanguard. Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Osner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. Next episode, we're going to be joined by JJ Reagan from NBC Sports Washington. But first up, just Karl and I. No stupid questions this time, other than the stupid questions I asked Karl. But 8-4 win in Montreal the other night. Your impressions on this team right now. That loss in Toronto wasn't fun. Beating a bad team in Montreal is a good thing. Where are you at on kind of this team a little bit into this road trip now?
I mean, it's hard to really get a good understanding for it. It's just a bit of a weird stretch. 3 games in a row with one team at least having a ton of goals, 7 or more goals, I think, right? So it's just strange. I don't know that I've seen something like that back and forth like the way that it has been. But I guess the good thing is guys are scoring. You know, in 2 of those 3 games, they've scored whatever that is 16 times. So I think that's good mentally. Makes guys feel happy with themselves that they're padding their stats, putting some pucks in the net. But at the same time, I mean, even though it was 4 goals against in Montreal, you don't really want to have that. And then what happened in Toronto? It's
you really don't have that, right?
No, it's far from ideal, especially that game against Toronto too. I was really excited about it. I thought it was going to be pretty good, pretty hard fought game. So it was a little bit strange, but then having Orly come back last game, I think that was a little bit of a boost. He obviously had a pretty solid outing. So that was impressive, but I mean, I don't know, just strange, but I would have put, like I always say, I would have put money on the Caps against Montreal in Montreal. It's the Capitals' probably top 3 favorite buildings to play in. So no surprise there, I guess.
It's the Karl Osner Alumni Bowl too.
It is, yes, absolutely. Well, you know what? Actually, the last time that I played the Caps in Montreal, I think they beat us like 6-1, 6-2 as well.
Those Canadian teams you were on weren't all that good.
Oh, awful. Absolutely awful. But still, it's just
right.
It's just the history, right? Like you have a team, like go back to the Caps in San Jose. We've talked about it before, I think. It's just not usually a good fit. So not too surprised by that one. But as a whole, I mean, too many goals scored.
Do you throw out the Flyers game? Because I mean, the Flyers barely looking like an NHL team right now. To be fair,
yeah, definitely. They it was not even a fun game to watch. You know, it was fun because of the excitement in the building was great, and
yes,
and the guys were happy. But I mean, in terms of just good back and forth hockey, yeah, that's not the way that it's supposed to be done. Especially this time of year, you think that sometimes those teams are coming out to upset, right? They're going to throw a little wrench into your playoff picture plans, and it didn't even happen at all. So It was just kind of strange.
Yeah. Do you have any concerns at all about the amount of goals this team's giving up? And I don't mean just the goaltenders, which you and I have talked about ad nauseum for the last 6 months, but the goaltending and just kind of the unit of 5 defense this team's playing right now?
Well, yeah. So that's my opinion on that is I didn't really pay too close attention to the ones that Montreal scored last game. I'm trying to think. The
Toronto ones for sure.
The Toronto ones for sure. Yeah. It's, you know what, even in Toronto, like I thought the goalies played decent. Like there was lots of goals allowed, but like the beginning of the game, they made some saves, like Samsonov made some pretty darn big saves. And even when Vitek came, I think his first save he made, he had to do the splits, like they made good saves. They were put in bad positions, tough spots where they had 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, cross ice passes to one-time shots. Like it doesn't matter which goalie you are. You might get a couple of them, which Samsonov did, which Vitek did, but you can't keep doing that. And that comes down to, I think, the way the team plays. You have a couple lapses here and there, and like let's give a lot of credit to Toronto. Toronto looked really good.
That team can score. That team can play.
They can score. They were fast. They were pushing the pace. It was it was, I mean, kind of nice to watch, honestly, like the way that they were playing that game. Does it translate to playoff hockey?
We're
Not
gonna
always,
find
but
out.
yeah, I think the Penguins did it. The Penguins did it 2 years in a row. They pushed the pace. Guys were blowing the zone. They were doing high flips to guys, and it worked really good. So it can be successful. It can be a good recipe, but Toronto just has a bit of a mental block right now in the playoffs. So in terms of the goals being scored, it for sure is too many. I think a little bit better team defense, stronger in front of the net, smarter with the pinches, and I guess I always kind of say like when to turn the siren on. This isn't looking good right now. Like let's turn the siren on. Let's just back out and make sure that we have all five guys there. And they did it at times, but against those really good teams, like we'll see when they play teams like Florida and Colorado and stuff like that, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and when we come back, I want to ask. I have a couple very like hockey nerd questions for you. But how did your broadcast go the other night, in your opinion?
It went pretty good, except I almost called Todd Reardon Turd Reardon. I don't know. I'm sure people caught it, but as soon as we went to break, I was laughing about it, and they were thinking it was pretty funny too. So overall, it was not bad. I think it was a lot of fun. I like the half-hour pregame show. I think that's nice because it goes by quick, but because you don't really have much to talk about before the game anyways. Like you can tee a few things up, but it's easier to talk for an hour after the game when you can break a few clips down. So yeah, not too bad. Did you see it at all?
I didn't get a chance to see it. That's why I'm curious your thoughts on it, and how many, and do you have any more appearances coming up?
I'm not sure. Because the schedule is usually done like at least a month in advance. And then the home games are always done by Al Koken. And then the first round of playoffs, I'm actually out of town. So I don't think obviously that will work out. So if I do, it would maybe be the second round road games. But I'm not 100% sure. It would be awesome. I would love to get some playoff experience in there. But as of right now, there isn't anything scheduled. So we'll see. It was really fun, though. I like that.
I'm glad you enjoyed doing it because I remember when you coached that women's game, you're like, it's kind of different being behind the bench and not playing. And I guess you're a little bit further away when you're on the broadcast.
Yeah, they all have good things and bad things. Like the tough thing with coaching is, well, I was just a guest coach, so I wasn't really, doing a whole lot of actual coaching. I was more just having a good time. But yeah, being that close to the game is fun. I enjoyed that as a full-time thing. Not right now, but what's great about the media stuff is you have some opportunity to really do some teaching. Teaching for fans that want to learn and hear a little bit more details of the game. But that being said, it's also the bad side because we don't get enough time to really look at those clips and break them down. So yeah, there's pros and cons to both of them, but it is fun to, like I said earlier, just being a part of the game, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Right. When we come back on All's Caps, I have a couple nerdy questions about things Karl just brought up. Also going to talk about Karl's trip to Vegas, the Capitals' trip to Vegas, and what's upcoming on the Capitals' road trip, which is pretty much about a lot of auto-win games for this team going down the stretch.
This episode is brought to you by HP. When you're working apart from your team, feeling connected can be a challenge. Presenting HP Presence, a more thoughtful, human collaboration technology. With enhanced audio and video features, you can experience more genuine collaboration and feel more connected. Be in the room from any room with HP Presence. Learn more at hp.com/presence.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. State Farm can insure your home and car with surprisingly great rates. Because you don't have to give up what you love for great insurance. They've got options, like personalizing your policy with options to help you get a surprisingly great rate. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. We're going to get to Karl's trip to Vegas as he's going out there to see the Capitals out there later this week. First of all, though, we were talking about that Leafs game, and I'm curious as a player, Karl, Do you know when you're when as a team you're hanging your goalie out to dry? Because I'm sure there's also that frustration when your goalie gives up a bad goal that you're kind of slump your shoulders and that happens. But is there an understanding when a team is hanging the goalie out to dry and you kind of know that on the bench?
Yes, absolutely. You see it obviously when the goalie has to make a bunch of saves, a bunch of rebound saves, 2-on-1s, things like that, little quick breakaways. They don't always have to be from red line in, but just little ones. So yeah, it's you definitely know it, and it's not a good feeling. And sometimes what can happen is you overplay. It's if you watch a guy out there go make a mistake, so let's say you turn a puck over up the wall trying to get it out as a defenseman, and their D-man stops it, and you're like, oh no, and then you'll see the player continue on to try and put pressure on that D-man, but you don't almost ever want that. You don't want a D-man checking a D-man in your D zone, right?
Ideally not, no.
Yeah, everybody has their spots, their people they're supposed to check. So you don't want to compound a mistake with another mistake. And that happens a lot. And so you notice that your goalie is getting peppered. Sometimes guys will go out of their way to do too much. And I saw that with one of the guys it was a game against Toronto. And I don't want to say who, but they made a mistake and then they ended up making another mistake trying to right that. And next thing you know, it was a 2-on-1. And it's just like, you have to be able to realize the stage of the game, what just happened, and think, okay, I'm going to stay back, help the goalie out, because I don't want to, like you said, hang him out to dry. And it happens often, more than it should. And you especially don't want to do that with a goalie that's coming in cold or first time goalie, something like that. And that's usually when you'll see teams, block a lot more shots and play a little bit more responsible, at least hopefully.
Yeah, and I bring that up because as much as we've criticized Ilya Samsonov or Vitek Vanacek and brought up kind of the questions of this team's goaltending future, there have been a lot of games where they have kept the Capitals in games, that they have made big saves where you just see so many mistakes in front that I kind of wonder how players kind of basically figure out, like, okay, well, goalie's playing well for us tonight, we need to not screw this up, because there's a whole lot of ways to lose a playoff series, as we all know. You need a lot of things to go right to win a playoff series, but if you got your goalies not playing well, or you have your goalies playing well and things are kind of breaking down in front like they did against Toronto, it's going to be a short spring around here.
Yeah, I can. And look, you've watched enough hockey. I've watched enough hockey that you can see it when a goalie's playing good and they're making these big saves and stuff like that. That's what you want. You don't. The keys for goalies are to not let in any softies and to make the occasional big save,
right.
to steal a goal. You do a couple of those a game, and then don't let in any softies. The rest is up to the players, like the skaters, because that's team defense, and that has to happen. And you see all the teams that win, it's five guys in the picture at all times. You're not giving up too many odd man rushes, and if you are, it's maybe a 3-on-2 with you have a guy pressuring back at least, right? That you can live with. It's the other stuff that you can't. And so, I'll admit I haven't watched nearly enough of the games this year closely to be able to give you the perfect answer to this, but I've watched quite a few in the last week, 2 weeks. I've been paying closer attention because it's coming up to the playoffs, and both these goalies have made some great saves. They've made those game-stealing saves. It's some of the little bit softer ones or giving up a really juicy rebound, which I admit is, and I'm not a goalie, but it's probably extremely hard to always capture all these pucks. But those are the things that you just want a little bit more consistency with, right? That's hopefully what comes with some more time, more experience. And it's what some of the best goalies are really good at, just more consistency.
You mentioned that five guys in the picture thing. That Connor Sherry goal against the Flyers where there were all five Flyers guys. There's a screenshot of it where you can just see all five guys sucked to one side of the ice, and Connor Sherry has no one within 20 feet of him. I have to imagine that's a defenseman's nightmare.
Yeah, that's like minor hockey when you see everybody just chasing the puck and then one kid that can't quite skate to get there and is just wide open, and all of a sudden the puck comes to them. It was just weird. That was a complete miscue. Nobody turns their head, and next thing you know, that happens. But yeah, if that, I think at that point the game was starting to get pretty out of hand. But if that happens to you, you're so worried about video the next day, you're going to get put on blast. At least you probably should be put on blast. So it's not a good feeling at all. That's just communication though, right? Like the goalie can help out a little bit there. But Martin Jones could do nothing on that play. No, nothing. That's like, yeah, that's something that your goalie would be pissed at in practice if he did to them, standing still, stick handling, and scoring.
Yeah.
So it was brutal.
Look, there's not a whole lot of goals in the NHL that I say I could score. I could have scored that goal in,
You probably could have scored that goal.
in that spot. When we come back on All's Caps, we're going to talk about Carl's trip to Vegas and the upcoming games on the Capitals road trip.
This is an ad for Roundup for Lawns. It kills weeds down to the root without harming your lawn. It works on crabgrass, dandelions, clover. It works on weeds with names you can't even pronounce. It's Roundup for Lawns. When used as directed, always read and follow pesticide label directions.
This episode is brought to you by Clutter. Too much stuff and not enough space? Use Clutter's on-demand smart storage solution to store your stuff without lifting a finger. Their licensed moving professionals will pack, photograph, and pick up your items. And if you need to, you can use a personal online photo catalog to get your items back to your doorstep. Take back your space. Visit clutter.com/Spotify and get $50 off with the promo code Spotify.
Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. We're talking on Monday. Karl, you fly to Vegas tomorrow. Will this be your first game in Vegas as a fan?
Yes. Oh, yeah, it will be. I only actually got to play in Vegas one time, unfortunately. We played there with Montreal. We got spanked. I think it was 4-0 after the first period. We had our rookie party that night, so maybe guys' heads weren't into it. But yeah, it was not fun from a playing perspective, but from like a fan experience or player experience, seeing the crowd and all that, it was unbelievable. So I've been talking about wanting to go to just see what it's like as a fan, because I've heard so many great things from my buddies and stuff that have gone and seen games, and they've really enjoyed it. So it should be a pretty good experience. And I'm going as, part of Caps alumni. So it's kind of like my first real duty, I guess, as an alumni. So that'll be kind of neat too.
Yeah, I have friends who've been longtime Capital season ticket holders that, like, for their 30th anniversary, the Caps flew them out to Vegas the year after they won the Cup. So like that's the kind of like experience you get as a fan in Vegas.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty sweet that they do that. And that there's, I'd say, 5 or 6 cities that would be like worth it to go and like have a really good all around.
Vegas is one of them, yeah, for sure.
Vegas for sure is one of them. I think the Nashville trip is something that I know we've seen a lot of the road crew and stuff come out and they're usually at those games. I think Montreal Toronto would probably be one that would be fun for a lot of people to come to. And I always say that Chicago is a really, really cool building to watch a game in as well. So it'll be neat. But yeah, the Vegas thing is fun. Hopefully have a good time, and we're going to go with some of the sponsors, some of the Cap sponsors. So that'll be kind of neat as well. And actually the company that I work for, Thundercat, they're one of the sponsors as well. So a couple of the employees will be going on this trip.
So you're double dipping a little bit here.
I'm kind of double dipping. That's what I said originally. Like, am I going as a Thundercat employee or am I going as a Caps alumni? So I had no idea until kind of recently. So it's kind of neat how it's happening. And
look, this is an important game, and Vegas, the Golden Knights need to win to get in. They need to actually win games. The Capitals, you kind of want to win that game, but you look ahead to the Arizona game, they have to win that game. And then the Leafs come here, the Islanders come here. Like, there are a lot of ought to win games, as our friend Ben Raby likes to say, on the schedule. Vegas would be nice to win, but this to try to maybe catch the Penguins with Tristan Jarry now week to week now with an injury, it's possible to catch the Penguins, but you got to win some games at this point.
Yeah, well, for sure you do. And if you look too, just the who is it? Anderson's hurt now too with Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you can get yourself into that position where you're playing the Hurricanes with a potentially injured number one goalie, Vezina candidate goalie, like that would be a nice spot to be. So you're kind of it's darn near impossible to try and plan that on who you play unless you want to play the best team and then you're trying to finish last.
I don't think you want to play Florida. Right?
I was going to say, let's be serious. No one wants to play Florida. No one wants to go. No one ever tries to lose games. So it is what it is. But yeah, these are games. The Vegas one will be tough in Vegas, against a team that's desperate, like very desperate. Yep. So that would be nice. But yeah, the Arizona one, that's the Bruce Boudreau trap game right there. You don't go into a place where you think you should win and, towards the end of a road trip as well, and just throw your sticks on the ice. So it could be a tough game, but at the same time, they're outmatched. They're outclassed by the Caps, so they got to do some work there.
I want to get back to Arizona and playing there in a second, but Chandler Stevenson in Vegas, this guy, when there were injuries, was a number one center. Did you notice that being around him, that he had that kind of potential? Because honestly, like, having watched as much hockey as I have, I don't think any of us saw this coming.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I would say I didn't see it at all because I didn't play with him that much. That was part of it. But he was just he was a great rookie. He was calm and quiet and went about his business. But I didn't get a chance to see like that next step. That next. I'm going to try and put the team on my back or go out there and change momentum. I never got to see that. And I know that he's been able to do that and be consistent. But I would say the one thing that I really did notice was some speed. Like, man, that guy could fly. Yeah. And if you have that in your arsenal, then you're going to find some success, especially if you get put with good line mates and all that. So he's done a good job. He seems to be playing a solid two-way game, and that's what you want. You'd love for him to stay in that position as the number one center, but you have a pretty good talent that came in to try and take that job. So it's a tough spot, but either way, I'm glad he's getting some recognition. It's been a phenomenal career arc for him.
Yeah, it's been amazing. One more thing before we go. You've talked about like playing in Florida when the crowds were like half empty and all that, and how difficult it is. How hard is that going to be for the Capitals in Arizona, where this is a team at the bottom of the standings? You mentioned near the end of the road trip. Like, is getting up for a game like that hard when you're playing in an arena like that?
Yes, extremely. Oh man, Florida was always really, really hard. Arizona was hard as well. It was a little different because we didn't go out there that much. So right. it was still kind of fun and kind of neat to be there. But yeah, I mean, when there's not a whole lot of energy in the building, it doesn't matter that it's the NHL. It's difficult. A lot of the guys that are playing have been in many games. So it's fun, but the excitement day in, day out wears off a little bit. And yeah, you're just trying to get through the game. And if you catch a team like that, like Arizona on a good day when they're going, it doesn't matter that they have a minus 104 goal differential. They still have players that
right.
that can play, and they'll take advantage of you. So you have to find that internal drive. And a lot of guys can dig deep and do it, but a lot of guys also can't, and they're tired and they don't want to, and they think about just giving that game away. And you unfortunately can't do that this time of the year.
I'm impressed that you nailed that minus 104 goal differential for the Arizona Coyotes.
I was just looking at it too, and I was thinking that it was absolutely nuts. Like, the next closest is like minus 66 or something like that. That's a bad season right there.
Look, I thought the Sabres were going to be the worst team in the NHL, and then I forgot the Coyotes were much worse. And no, this is a really bad team. Absolutely a game the Capitals need to win. Thanks everyone for listening on All's Caps. Next episode, we're going to be joined by NBC Sports' JJ Reagan.